Did you bike over here?
What, and sweat in this outfit? No way. No, this is just a preview of the outfit you're gonna wear for your bachelor party.
Oh, no.
Now, I already know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Greg, do they even allow spandex at a strip club? And they do, but don't worry, okay? Because we are not going to a strip club. No, we are gonna be pedaling on one of these babies. It's a bike bar.
Bar on a bike.
Yeah.
Okay, wow. There's still a lot being worked out about the wedding,
Okay.
you know, and nothing's really set in stone yet about who is doing what.
Okay, yeah. Okie dokie. Well, doesn't really matter much to me, you know. It's not like I've been planning anything, so, yeah, I'll just go.
Okay.
Okay.
Is she your favorite?
We call her Dee-Weezy.
All right, let's start there.
Sure.
You've got some legends in this cast.
Yes, we do.
And an incredible ensemble all around, from the youngest to the oldest.
Yeah, they're amazing.
I want to start with a rumor about Dee-Weezy.
Yes.
I heard she brings her parakeets to the set. Is that true?
She does. She does indeed. She has her trailer, and it's full of birds, and that's awesome. Another interesting thing about Diane Wiest, she can rap.
Really? Is that where she got the name Dee-Weezy?
She can rap well. We were in the hair and makeup trailer one morning, and, you know, Colin comes in, and we all have, like, these sort of wireless Bluetooth speakers that we carry around with us, whatever, and Colin comes in and with his music going, and we're listening to it, and sort of, you know, it's 6 o'clock in the morning, and everyone's, and Diane's sitting in there, and she turns around, she says, "Colin, honey, do you have any Kendrick Lamar or Kanye?" And everybody sort of freezes and looks at each other, and I'm like, "Dude, do you?" And Colin's like, "Yeah, of course I do." And I was like, "Put it on." So he throws some on, and before we know it, Diane's down there just spitting.
Please tell me you took video of it.
We did. There was a group of us that took video of it, and then we all sort of got together a couple minutes later and sat down and said, "Is this something that we're going to share with the world, or is this just for us?" And we decided, you know what, we can talk about it, but this is just for us.
Got it. Well, if I ever get her on this stage,
Oh, yeah.
that's the first thing,
You
even
can make her
before the
rap.
parakeets.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm gonna ask her to rap.
Yes.
Talk about working on this incredible ensemble comedy and the structure of the show, which is unlike other sitcoms.
Yeah, you know, each episode is broken up into 4 stories. Justin Adler, our showrunner, the guy who created the show, basically wanted to do it like one of those old Looney Tunes cartoons, you know, where you have 4 different stories within the 30-minute episodes. Some of the characters overlap. You're familiar with everybody, but they don't necessarily all add up to the same thing. Like, everybody in the family is having their own experience. And then usually we have like one of the storylines where we all come together at the end as a family and go through some sort of weird adventure. But it is an incredible group of people. And we sort of don't take that for granted. And everybody loves showing up on set. We all love working together. Some of us get an opportunity to work together, you know, more than others, but...
Sort of divided in, like, these panels.
Yeah, you know, Anj and I spend a lot of time working together, which is great because, you know, we get along super well and it's awesome, and Colin and Zoe have their thing, and, you know, Colin and I and Betsy, to some extent, spend a lot of time working together because we're the 3 siblings of Diane and Jim, and Diane and Jim work together a lot, you know, and it's amazing, but any opportunity I get to work with any of these people, and especially these kids, and it's just... It's amazing, and they're we love each other.
I've heard some funny stories about bloopers on the set.
Oh yeah.
Do you want to give a couple of examples? You want me to just tell you the stories that I've heard?
Yeah, please tell me the stories because we have a lot of them. By all means, tell me what you heard.
Tell the story about how Angelique kicked you in the face.
Oh yeah, that was a great one. So. We were shooting. It was one of the first episodes of this season, and you know, we're doing this sort of wrestling sequence between myself and Fortune Feimster, who plays our roommate.
Amazing.
Who is a genius. And so Fortune and I are there in our sort of wrestling onesies, and we're working with the stunt coordinator. This is how we're going to do this and that and the other. And then at the end of the wrestling sequence, Anj is going to jump on top, and we were like, okay, great. So we have this whole thing blocked out. We're ready to go. We run through it. Good. Turn on the cameras. First take. We're great. Get to the end. Flop down. Anj jumps with these big wedge heels on and lands on Fortune and shoves her foot out, and her wedge heel goes into my eye socket and like up into underneath my eye. Like literally no other part of the shoe hit any other part of my face. It was just the edge of the wedge goes right into my eye. And you could hear it. And like the whole crew sort of, you could hear everybody go, ooh.
What did it sound like?
I didn't hear it.
What did it sound like from inside your skull?
From inside my skull, it was just this straight scream of, and you know, you have those moments when you get poked in the eye or whatever, you know, you're like, I'm pretty sure it's out. You know what I mean? Like it's like rolled off on the floor somewhere. And I sort of laid there for a minute and was like, I think she got me good. And, you know, Anj is Anj, and she was sort of, you know, I don't know, doing some other stuff. And I kind of looked up and everybody came running over and, yeah, they carried me off set for a little while. But she felt really, really bad about it for a couple minutes.
How's your vision?
It's great. I mean, it wasn't like a permanent injury. Every once in a while I get like weird headaches, but that's just Anj.
Just having her around. In the most recent episode that aired, it took place at a football game.
Yeah.
And you really filmed it at a football game, right?
We did, yeah.
I heard there were some very rowdy...
yeah, man.
I was going to say audience members because, you know, I talk in theatrical terms. I'm always
Broadway.
talking about when intermission is happening at sporting events, too.
Sure.
They're not audience members.
No,
they're fans.
Fans, yeah. But you know that thing, the whole audience member thing, like that goes in the sports, that goes different ways. Like it goes both ways. Like we refer to it as, well, when's intermission? And I was doing a show, and the Secret Biden, Vice President Biden and his wife came and saw the show, and Secret Service was there or whatever, and I was getting ready to make my entrance the beginning of the show, and there's a Secret Service agent standing right next to the edge of the stage, and just as I'm getting ready to walk on, he leans over to me and he goes, just so you know, the Vice President and his wife will be coming back to visit you during halftime. And I was like, thank you very much, and walked out on stage. But it was like trying not to laugh because he was so sincere about it, you know. And it was at halftime; they were really going to come. But yeah, during the filming of that episode, we had a lot of crazy stuff happening because you know we're shooting on a professional football game. So Dan and Giselle were shooting. At one point, we were up in the nosebleeds shooting, and Dan, you know, sort of has Giselle there, and there's some guy like 4 rows behind, drunk out of his mind, just took a header right down the stairs, right in front of Giselle, puked all over the place, bleeding and everything, and you know, she's 8. So everyone's very protective of her, which we probably don't need to be as protective of her as we are because she's so much more mature than anybody else that's in this picture. And she just sort of looked at the guy and was like, probably shouldn't have drank so much, you know. And like, we're all like, oh, this is horrible, you know. We get her out of here. We need to protect her, you know, poor innocent eyes. And she's like, I'm on set with you guys. There's nothing I haven't heard. There's nothing I haven't seen. She made so much money. I love this kid so much. She came to me and said, I want to start a swear jar. So that whenever any of the adults on stage or, you know, in the company, whatever, swears, you put money in a jar, and then it'll be donated to a charity. And I said, okay. And she said, can you help me figure out how to do that? Like, you know, whatever. And I said, okay, great. We'll sit down. We'll make a list of like what words equal what amount of money. It's going to be your job to hold people to this, and it's going to be your responsibility to pick the charity and figure out how to give it all. You know, I'll help you whenever you need help. Her parents are amazing, and so like a couple weeks later, it all been put together. She stood up, presented her idea to the whole cast. Everyone went, all right, no problem. And then, you know, at the end of the year, she got together and said, all right, this is what I believe everybody owes me.
So she wasn't charging people as they went. She just asked for a check at the end of the season.
Like somewhere at the end, she was like, you have had a particularly bad year, sir.
Can you write that like as a line item on your tax return?
Swear jar, you know what I mean?
If it went to charity, I suppose.
So, and she donated all to Operation Smile, which is a charity that she picked herself, and you know, raised a couple grand for him because
my gosh,
terrible people.
Since we're an uncensored platform, can you give us a couple of examples of the words and what their value was?
Fuck is $5.
Okay.
Going up from there, you know, you start getting into parental fucks, and like that's when you start tacking on more shit's $1, ass is 50 cents, you know, like that sort of stuff. So, and she's really good about it. And you know, you have to remember, like, you have a lot of people on this poster who are used to working on cable, like Betsy Breaking Bad Brandt, Dan Veep Bacadol. You know what I mean? Like And if you've ever seen Veep, you know his character is one of the filthiest mouth people in the entire planet. So Dan has to shut it down every once in a while. Remember, he's working on CBS, you know what I mean? And it's really intense. We're sort of a pirate crew. We walk around just, all the time. And then she goes, hey. You just hear this little voice in the background, hey, and you turn around and you go, oh, shit, that just cost me $10.
Do you get a freebie when you get a wedge heel to the eyeball?
I do not, but she wasn't there for that.
Cost you $50.
She was not there for that. It's only when she's there, you know what I mean? So like you look on the schedule and you see these are the days Giselle is in, these are the scenes she's in. Okay, I'm really gonna have to watch my mouth then. I'm gonna get it all out with Anj, and or Colin.
Oh my gosh, you guys, your chemistry with Anj is amazing, but my favorite is your chemistry with Mr. Hanks.
Oh yeah, I love working with him.
I think my favorite is the unitard scene, where just watching him laugh, I cannot stop laughing.
Yeah, it's amazing. We have a great relationship. I mean, most of the blooper reel stuff is the two of us making each other laugh. I mean, it's hard. It's really hard working together. There are definitely days when, we hold everybody up for quite a while because it's just, I'm sorry, man, I'm gonna keep it together. With this episode coming up, you showed the clip for that he had this moment where he's standing outside my front door in the rain trying to convince me to let him be my best man in my wedding. And it's just everything out of every great 80s movie you ever wanted to see, sort of. You know what I mean? Like but it's Colin, and so he's like soaking wet, and at one point he turned around and he looks at me and he's like, "We need to talk." And I couldn't keep it together, which take after take after take after take, and tears pouring down my face. I'm so sorry, man. I know you're soaking wet and you're cold, but it's just too good. It's too good. Yeah, we have a lot of fun working together.
May we all be so lucky to have that be our big problem at work. We have so much fun.
Yeah.
I've been a fan of yours for a long time, and I've seen you work with many really talented ensembles. In fact, I think every major project I've seen you in has involved your interaction with a bunch of other actors that are all sort of at equal levels in terms of their importance to the story. Of course, Newsroom was a big one. And also on stage. In fact, I think my first introduction to you as an actor was in a play called Reasons to be Pretty, for which you were Tony nominated.
Yes, it was, yeah.
Can you talk about the differences between working with an ensemble on stage versus on a cable drama versus on a network sitcom?
Well, I mean, look, it's a very strange thing. The difference between film and theater. And the difference between different types of film, even by themselves. When we work together in Reasons and any number of other different plays that I've done where you get to be a real family, you're spending a lot of time together every day in these very contained bursts, like 4 hours, let's say. If you're showing up early and you're warming up together and your nerves are all there and you're telling one coherent story every night, and it's the same story every night, so you're reliving these moments and you're sort of re-traumatizing yourself, or you're re-exploring these really beautiful moments. You get to be, and it's, months and months and months you're doing this, and it gets to be a really intense connection that you share with the people you're working with. And you're exploring, right? Because every night, you're telling the same story every night, but you don't want to go out and give the same performance every night. You want, particularly when you're working with great people, you want to see how the story grows. You want to see how your fellow actors are growing, interacting, how the story's going to change, what something means differently to somebody on one day based on what's happening in their life as opposed to another. And you get on set in the newsroom and we're working together 16 hours a day, sometimes up to 18 hours a day. You don't necessarily work with everybody. You spend a lot of that time sitting in your trailer trying to memorize lines word perfect, because if you get one word wrong, Sorkin's going to let you know about it. It's just a different mentality. You see people in fits and starts. I spent a lot of time in the first season working with Allison, which was great because Allison and I created Reasons to be Pretty together, and she's like my little sister. We've had a incredibly close friendship for a long time, like many years. So I got to spend a lot of time working with somebody who I had a real shorthand with right out of the gate, and so we had a different relationship than I did with Olivia, who I started spending time with, a lot of time with in season 2 and season 3. And, you know, that was a friendship that was growing, you know, because we were spending so much time together. And then Daniel's was sort of always there, ever present, and that got to be a really important friendship too. But, you know, it was fits and starts. So I would have like a week of really close interaction with Dev, you know, and we would get to be really tight for a week, and then we wouldn't see each other again, you know, or we would see each other, but sort of because we'd be playing soccer on set, you know what I mean, or like eating together at the craft services table, but not because we were working together, and it's just a different thing. And now this, you know, we work together maybe a couple days a week. One day, the whole family gets together a week, and it's for a few hours, and we're then sort of largely partnered off with our families, our individual families inside of this thing. So we do feel like a family because we have that one family day every week, but we also feel like we have our individual lives too, you know, within our little pockets here, and we get to bring them together, and it's just a different thing. Each one of them is different. No one of them sort of any less intense or meaningful than the other, but they're just, it's a weird thing to walk between them.
Does the vibe on screen reflect in the vibe off screen? Like, I guess what I'm asking is, did you laugh as much on the set of Newsroom as you do on Life in Pieces, or does the script dictate kind of the mood of the cast?
There wasn't a lot of time to laugh on the Newsroom. You know, we had a lot of work to do in a very short amount of time, and everybody was running pretty much in the red all the time. I mean, I wasn't joking when I said if you got a word wrong, Sorkin would let you know about it. My first episode, the pilot, I'm sitting there and like I'm working with Jeff Daniels and Sam Waterston, you know, and I have this speech that I'm supposed to give Jeff, and I'm supposed to lay into him. I'm terrified. I'm a theater guy, you know what I mean? Like I'm not used to being on film other than like the occasional Law and Order. I had like one Law and Order where I tried to assassinate Sam. You know what I mean? Like, and like, you know, a couple of other things, but like I'm not used to being on film. I've done a couple of things here and there, but not much, you know. I'm certainly never on TV and never with Aaron sitting in Video Village sort of watching. And like I get up and we shoot the scene and we're walking and talking and I spit out this monologue and I get done with, you know, cut, and Daniels gives me that, all right, kid, yeah, all right, you know, and I'm like, all right, cool, man, I got it, all right, maybe I'm not gonna completely suck, maybe I'm not gonna get fired, you know?
And
then I get this, you know, Aaron Sorkin walks up and throws his arm around me, he's like, hey, man, hey, God, wow, that was really good, listen, on the fourth line of that monologue, you're saying and instead of but, just keep an eye on that.
So how many times did you have to redo it?
And I went, oh, shit, you know, and I went back to him, and I pulled out my sides, and I look at him, he's right. Come on, make a big, no, it does, it changes the context of the sentence, right, okay, right, yeah. Make sure you say and, make sure you say but. And then like the next couple takes, Greg Motola's coming up to me and going, hey man, great. You're really leaning on that but, you know, you're really like,
you overcorrected?
You're like, you're like really leaning on it. And like, Aaron knows that you got it right. You don't need to let him know that you got it right. Okay, all right, cool, yeah, I'll back off a little bit. But it was fun, man. It was really great. I got to say that with that show and, you know, seeing what I got to witness the shooting of the pilot of that episode was one of the truly great feats of acting that I've ever had the opportunity to witness, both just in terms of the amount of talent that was utilized, but also the amount of technical expertise that was utilized. When Jeff has that speech at the very beginning of the first episode of the Newsroom, you know, why is America the greatest country in the world? It isn't, but it can be. I went up to College of the Canyons to watch him shoot that, just because I wanted to see what I was getting myself into. That was like their first day of shooting. And I literally watched Jeff on stage in front of a room full of people, an audience, you know, an entire room full of people sitting there waiting to, you know, see him do his thing. And I watched Sorkin rewrite that speech to Jeff on set in between takes. And I watched Jeff get it word perfect every single time. And it was literally a matter of like, hey, could you take paragraph 2 and put it where paragraph 3 is, take 3, put it up, where 1 is, take 1, put it down, but just keep that first line of 1, but then Jeff would go, yeah, got it, let's roll.
Well, it is one of the greatest speeches in the history of television, I think, and it's more relevant now, I think, than it's ever been, which is a good lead-in, I think, to some incredible work that you're doing on the board with Refugees International.
Yeah, I sit on the board of directors of Refugees International, which is, as it says, it's a non-for-profit organization that works with refugees. And we're having ourselves a moment right now in the refugees community. RI is a really specific. Sam actually introduced me to them on the set of the newsroom. He pulled me aside and said, "Listen, I've heard you talk for a little while now, and about the things that you're interested in, the things you want to do, and I think this organization would really be a good fit for you. I've worked with them for 20 years, 30 years, or whatever." And he introduced me to them. I fell in love right away, and I started working with them, and I joined the board of directors last year. What sets us apart, what sets RI apart, is that we don't take any government funding, right? We take no government funding, we take no United Nations funding. It is an organization that is that exists sheerly through individual donors and sometimes corporate donations, right? So what that allows us to do as an organization is be very dexterous, right? We don't owe anybody anything. We owe no governments, no institutions, anything. We're not worried about them pulling our funding, so we get to tell the truth. We also get to go to both sides of a conflict region because we don't have any side. You know, we're not taking money from the Assad regime, so we can actually go and meet with the people who are actually being affected, and we can actually go and meet with the government side too, and get a sense of 360 degrees what is happening. These advocates that we employ are extraordinary people. They're extraordinarily highly educated, they're extraordinarily intelligent, they're extraordinarily passionate, and they put together these reports that are then given to government organizations and the United Nations with a list of, this is what's happening. This is what we think should be done, and this is where your resources can best be used. It's a long game. It works to solve the institutional problems, the sort of baseline reasons why these things are happening. It's not an easy sell in terms of charity work, because you don't get to say, well, this is the well that I built in this town. My name is on this brick in this place that I'll never go. It's a longer game than that, and I personally happen to believe that it's the right game to be playing. But as we are in the current situation that we're in, things become immediate, and voices like that have sort of unimpeachable integrity that can't be questioned, that can't be dismissed as being fake because they are beholden to X, Y, and Z, become even more important. And I'm more proud now than I ever have been to be sitting on the board of RI. I'm more proud of the advocates who go out into the field and get onto the ground and get their hands dirty. Who have their hearts broken and have their minds opened, who get to see these things firsthand. I'm more proud of them right now than I ever have been before. And we're in a really tricky situation. And I think that, it's very easy to have a lot of opinions about it. I think it's very easy to read a couple of articles on Twitter that, a journalist has researched and memorize maybe a couple of facts and be able to spit those out as a way of proving your moral or ethical superiority over the people who sit on the other side of the aisle from you, maybe not agree with you politically. It's very easy to do that. And I get that. I get that impulse. I think it's a very normal, very common thing to do. But the thing that I am constantly coming back to, and that I feel like people need to remember, is that these are human beings that we're talking about. More often than not, these are human beings. These are women and children. These are women and children who are fleeing conflict. Conflict that is frankly unimaginable, like pain that is unimaginable to most people who live in this country. I'm not trying to take away the suffering of the people who do suffer in this country, of course. I mean, it is very real. However, nobody is dropping chlorine gas bombs on us, let alone our own government, the people that we're supposed to trust to take care of us. There aren't machete-wielding gangs walking through the streets, taking people apart piece by piece in this country because of different, religious orientation or sexual orientation, or being from a different tribe, while the security forces stand aside and just watch it happen. These are things that are actually happening in the real world to these people. These people are suffering immensely. And that needs to be remembered when we're talking about refugees. You know, there's a lot of terms that get thrown around when we're talking about refugees, migration, things like that. Those are the type of terms that you use to refer to animals. Animals migrate. People flee. And I think we need to be very mindful of the way that we talk about people. I think we need to be very mindful of the way we talk about this situation. I think we need to be very, very mindful of remembering that these are not statistics. These are not cudgels to be used to take down our opponents. These are people, and they are desperately in need of help. And they have been suffering for a long time. And more often than not, all they want is a safe place to land and restart their lives again. And we don't actually have the moral right to say no. We actually don't even have the legal right to say no in terms of our international agreements. But these are discussions that need to be had at a higher level. These are discussions that need to be had from constituent to representative. You know, we live in a democracy, and being an informed and passionate part of an electorate is the most important responsibility we have, I believe, in this country. So I personally have been thrilled to see, you know, what's been going on lately. I'm thrilled to see people like in the streets making phone calls. Hell, I was thrilled to see it when the Tea Party was doing it. I didn't agree with a damn thing that those people believed in, but that is a passionate democracy. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, that to me is signal of a healthy democracy. We're not ever going to agree with each other, probably, but if we can respect each other enough to say, you know what, you got the right to do that, and I'm glad that you're out in the street standing up for what you believe in, then I think that we're flexing our muscles in a democracy, and I think that we have hope, we have a chance, we have a future. So I beg of people to be mindful when talking about this situation, particularly the executive order, and when calling your members of Congress, which you should absolutely do, write your members of Congress, say, please stand up and say, this is not acceptable. This is not who we are as a people. I mean, if this is who we are as a people, then we frankly, you know, need to slap a return to sender, you know, a sticker on the Statue of Liberty and mail the old gal back, because we're just not who we are anymore, if this is what we're gonna do. But be mindful, you know, that when you're talking about this stuff, that you're talking about people. You're talking about people who need help, and you're talking to people who may disagree with you, but they're people too, and they have their fears and their hopes and their desires, and, you know, being mindful of that and respectful of that is, I think, a worthwhile thing to do.
Wow. Thank you so much for that. Can you give the website so we can all go and
Yeah, it is www.refugeesinternational.org, and you can donate. Please, any little bit helps, literally. And also there, you're going to find the reports that our advocates have written. It's important to remember, everybody, that the refugee situation is not just in the Middle East. Mm-hmm. Okay, we have an extraordinarily scary situation developing in Burma, Myanmar, in which the Rohingya Muslim population is literally on the verge of genocide. Attention needs to be paid there. Attention needs to be paid in Southern Africa, and the DRC, and any number of other places, and in South and Central America. This is a global issue, and you'll see all the reports there. Get yourself informed and see what's happening and what can be done.
Great. We have time for a question or two from the audience.
Sure. Hey, man. Thanks for coming here, and I want to echo Laura's sentiment. Thank you for fighting the good fight and being an overall good person. Your voice is very important. I know inspired everybody in the studio today.
Thank you, man. That's nice of you to say.
On a lighter note, I know that
Yes, let's do that.
we were talking about reasons to be pretty earlier. You were great in that.
Thank you.
Neil LaBute's one of my favorite playwrights.
Mine too.
That's awesome. About him, what's your favorite memory of working with Neil LaBute?
Oh, man. You know, I've worked with Neil a bunch now, man, and I don't know that I necessarily can nail down one thing that as a favorite about working with Neil. You know, I worked on Reasons to be Pretty. I've done any number of short films and stuff with Neil. My fiance and I did a play together of his a couple of years ago. Like, it's all just good stuff. You know what I mean? And I have so many fond memories of the man. I can't nail it down. You know, I will say that Neil is one of the most gracious collaborators I've ever worked with, and he's funny. He's funny, and he's just fun to work with. He's fun to be in a room with. He's fun to talk to. He's fun to pull apart story with. He listens, you know, and he trusts in a way that I find to be really inspiring as a collaborator, you know, and we've had a lot of good times. So I can't nail it down to just one, but I'll just say that Reasons to Be Pretty was an extraordinary moment for me as an artist, and then everything that I've done with him subsequently has slotted into a very important part in my life. So it's the more time I get to spend with Neil, the happier I am as an artist, definitely.
Do you have any plans to come back to the New York stage with Neil or in any other context?
God, I hope so. I really miss it. You know, I'm always sort of like trying to make phone calls here and say, hey, don't forget about me. You know,
I don't think you need to risk that.
I'd love to come back. I would love to come back. I'm in this interesting position now where I've been doing this for, you know, almost 2 decades now, and the people that I came up with when we were all kids together in church basements, you know, doing readings and all this stuff, are now taking over theater companies. You know, they're becoming artistic directors.
Yeah, we'll get them to cast you in
you
something.
know what I mean? But it's funny because I'm in this position where I want to be able to call up people and be like, dude, you owe me. Like a Metro card and a Twix bar, I still remember being paid in that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah. But I'm looking for the right project, and I can't wait. I cannot wait to get back on stage. I can't wait to be part of this community again. I've missed so much in the last couple of years, and I kicked myself for it. But I'm so excited at what's happening here.
Me too.
It's incredible.
I can't wait to have you back.
Thank you.
But of course, in the meantime, we get to see you in our homes every week on CBS, Life in Pieces. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank
it's
you.
really been a true honor.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.